We ask for guidance, protection, and continued strength for every soul here to keep building, creating, and uplifting our communities through truth, justice, and love. May this evening be a celebration of unity, of purpose, and of the power that comes when people stand together. And may everything we do today honor those who came before us and inspire those who come after. Amen, Ashe, Shalom, and one love. Thank you. The opening statement. Hello, my name is Jaime Alexander Davidson, also known as Gringo Man. Today is not just about me, it is about us. It is about the voices that were silenced, the cultures that were ignored, and the legacies that built a movement from nothing. Prison reform meets arts and entertainment. It's a declaration of truth that Panamanians, united with Jamaicans, West Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Colombians, and African Americans, etc., built the foundation of what the world calls today reggaeton. We built it in the streets, in the sound systems, in the studios, and in the struggle. From behind prison walls to global stages, we carried it forward. Today, we honor those who stood firm, gave without asking, risked their lives, and used their voices to keep hope alive. This is our legacy, this is our truth, and these are the people whose contributions must be remembered forever. The first person I want to award today is Attorney Bettina Shine and legal team, Lifetime Dedication to Justice Award. For 17 years, Ms. Bettina Shine and her legal team labored pro bono through endless filings, denials, and uphill battles. They chose principle over profit and proved that loyalty is the highest form of law. In a system where most lawyers move on when the money dries up, Ms. Bettina Shine stayed with me, Gringo Man. She became a guardian of justice, showing the world that persistence in defense of truth is the ultimate act of courage. And down the road, I was able to get Alice Marie Johnson to work alongside Ms. Bettina Shine, and they acquired my freedom by the big miracle that got President Donald Trump in his first term to sign my clemency petition on my innocence. Please give a lot of round of applause to Bettina Shine. Please come up, Ms. Shine. This is yours.
I mean, I'm not going to sing, but I sang enough for justice. And we have to say that the moment I met Jaime, I knew that he was innocent. You just have a visceral feeling, and you know it. And that was in Lewisburg.
That's right.
And then we had a long, long path to get justice, a very long path to get justice. But we pursued it, and we pursued it with passion, because that's the only way you can pursue justice. And then going up and down in the courts in the Second Circuit and other courts, we tried. And then President Trump was elected. My firm was doing some work for his children, and the first thing I said was, Jaime Davidson was the first thing I said. And we put together a clemency petition. It was this high, and accompanied it was exhibits this high, because Jaime had done wonderful things while he was in prison. Instead of being bitter, he taught over 1,000 students receive their GED. He revised the math program for all the men in the prison. You even sang in prison.
That's right.
There was a battle of the bands in one of the prisons. You even sang reggaeton in prison.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a part, but the teachers who came in, they loved Jaime Davidson because he had a passion for teaching, and he taught, and he brought such goodness into all the very harsh penitentiaries he was in. So I just want to say he did a lot of good, and there was a lot of good all around. So I got a call from Trump this was after the insurrection, but before he left office, I got a call from him, from someone saying, the president's gonna call you. I said, okay. I was visiting my mother at the time. Phone rings, he says, this is your favorite president. I said, is it really you, sir? Yes, it is. And he says, you've been representing Mr. Davidson pro bono for all these years? I said, yes, sir. He said, that's admirable. And then he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to grant your petition for clemency. I screamed so loud. It was a miracle, and he did the right thing. And subsequent to that, I met him and I thanked him for saving a man's life. And he asked, how is Mr. Davidson? I said, he's doing very, very well. So that's the story of the clemency, and we're here now.
Yeah. Thank you. This is yours. This is yours. No, not
And
yet.
I just want to add, we did have a team, Stephanie Guaba
That's
and
right.
a few others who helped us in looking through every document to put together the most potent clemency petition we could.
Thank you, Ms. Shine.
Thank you.
And I'm going to add something to her. What she said, when I saved an individual's life. He was the individual that came, and one of the guys from D.C. was like, Panama, this guy, he knows, some attorneys. Man, I need you to meet him. I met him, and he said, you want to meet? I said, I wanted to see Bruce Cutler. He said, you don't want Bruce Cutler, you want Bettina Shine. So I said, who's Bettina? He said, that's who you want, Bettina Shine. She's the brains behind everything. Then he got into a situation in Lewisburg Penitentiary. And one day I'm coming in from work, and I see tension. So one of the brothers said, hey, Panna, they're going to kill the guy from France. I said, no, they're not. He said, yes, they are. I said, no, they're not. He said, Panna, don't get involved. I said, yes. I said, nobody has ever introduced me to an attorney. I said, I'm going to get involved. And I got to say, this is God. And it's part of the Panamanian culture that people don't know. That we as Panamanians, we unite with so many different races and nationalities that when I got involved, God raised all the different groups to say, Pana, we with you. I went to the yard and I told the guy, I said, hey. He said, why are you getting involved? He said, that's my friend. Now he's from France. I said, no, that's my friend. I said, if you're going to do something to him, you got to do something. And then a brother from D.C. said, Pana, don't worry about it. They ain't going to do nothing. They ain't going to do nothing. And that was the end of the story. And Bettina Shine didn't know what was happening in there. She found out after, way after. But that's how I met Bettina Shine. And for you to save a person's life in prison, you're putting yourself in the lion's mouth. You see what I'm saying? But today, you're about to hear about a man. Selfless actions. Because I couldn't do 29 years innocently and turn around and leave and don't look back for the good men and women that's still behind bars. Because a lot of us still have somebody that we know or family members incarcerated. That's why this is Prison Reform meets Arts and Entertainment. All right, the next person I'm going to call is Monique Sinclair, Raymatch LLC, Pillar of Strength and Legacy Award. When storms rose, Monique Sinclair steadied the ground. She rebuilt, organized, and lifted the work so this day and this legacy could stand tall. More than a partner, she was an anchor. Her quiet strength ensured that movements became monuments and that legacy had a structure to stand on. Without her, much of what has been rebuilt would have remained rubble. And I had suffered a second injustice, but God blessed me to have gotten the support of Monique Sinclair and her family. Shay, can you please come up? And this is her son right here. Her son, Matt. And that's her niece, Shay. This is Monique Sinclair.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. This moment isn't just an honor. It's a reflection of every late night, every decision, and every moment of faith it took to help help bring structure to a vision that deserved to stand tall. To Jaime, my partner, my love, and the visionary behind the Reggaetón movement, thank you for trusting me to help turn vision into legacy, and legacy into something that will outlive all of us. To the FEHR Foundation and the Reggaetón family, thank you for recognizing not just the performance in front of the stage, but the builders behind it, the ones who carry the mission quietly until it speaks itself. This award represents foundation, consistency, and belief, and not in just what we're building, but in why we're building it. Legacy isn't made overnight. It's made by hands that keep working when the spotlight fades. Thank you for recognizing my role in the foundation of this movement. And thank you for reminding the world that movements only come when they build upon purpose. Thank you.
Mama.
Oh, thank you.
Now, the person that I'm going to call here, her brother helped me win the Four Sounds Clash in 1986 in Biltmore Ballroom, Winston Dyer Jr. And may rest in peace. A lot of applause for Winston Dyer Jr., please. A lot of us from New York would know him and his father from the owner of Love People. Well, he passed away in a car accident after he won me the Four Sounds Clash. But then in 2011, I was struggling behind the wall trying to get somebody to help me. I contacted Sean Walsh from What's Up New York. He's right there, one of Baby Quake's artists. And he said to me, "Hey, Jaime, I spoke to Anjanette." I said, "Winston's sister?" He said, "Yes. Give me her number." He gave me her number, and that was all she wrote. And the clemency, the change.org petition that she put on change.org is the document that Alice Marie Johnson's daughter, Katina, found and ran to her mother and said, Mommy, Jaime Davidson, look, Mommy, he's innocent. Look at all that evidence." Her mother said, "Hold on a minute, Jaime Davidson, I know that name." This is what Alice explained to me. She went into her office and she looked. The petition Bettina Shine had sent her, Jaime Davidson. And from her mouth to my ear, she said, "Jaime, I put your petition on my hips and I said, God, I'm going to fight for this man to get him up out of here." And I told Anjanette when I came home, I said, "You see, you kept saying nobody was looking at the petition. You see?" Her daughter, well, Anjanette Monroe worked in the background moving pieces so that the shows could happen and the culture could grow. Her work was a reminder that movements are not only carried by artists and DJs, but also by organizers who fight for space, funding, and recognition. She represents the countless women whose organizational brilliance kept the doors open for the music to thrive and prisoners behind the wall to be able to get aid for support. Can you round of applause for Anjanette Dyer Monroe?
Thank you so much, Jaime. Hey, you're my brother. This is my brother. Okay, all right. I just wanted to ask anybody here if they understand what a citizen's arrest is. Right? When men in uniform or men wearing a uniform break the law, we have the right as citizens to arrest them. But nobody usually exercises that right. At 16, I witnessed police brutality happen to a young man that was a friend of ours too. This little kid, like 5 cops come out of the car. They're like big football players. They beat the hell out of him. He has a white suit. He goes into the car. They throw him into his cop car, full of blood all over his suit. Anyway, that was my impression and why since then I decided to be an advocate for those who have gone to prison as young men and thrown into juvie for years. And when I heard about Jaime, and I won't start with the speech. When I heard about Jaime, he had been inside about 16 years already. So, if my brother was alive, he would not have sat back and he would not have sat back and let Jaime rot in prison. 13 facilities?
12.
12 medium to maximum security facilities. They transferred him over and over and over. And this is also not the way the law is supposed to work. You know, a prisoner should be in a facility close to his family or where his family could reach, and they put him all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they did not want him to come out, but because of the good work that he did inside, he was protected, knock on wood, most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was over 2,000 people that he's gotten their GED for. But I met Sean again. When I first met him, he was with another set, King Champion. And I said, "You don't know my brother?" To me, everybody should have known my brother. But Sean was young. He was a young guy, like 16. But Jaime, put Sean on the stage, and he put many artists on the stage. And a lot of times, it was the first time these artists got paid. So this is another thing about Jaime. When he was working outside, he gave a lot of people their first chance. Right? He gave a lot of people their first chance. And that's why he has the support that he has today from those artists who have moved on and done so greatly, right? Like Sean and Screechy and Red Fox and on, so many artists. So I think Bettina and Trump, he did something good. I don't think he knew how good a person he released. I think he's been doing the work for all of the exonerees. Everybody. Anyway, I'm gonna skip this speech. I'm gonna skip this speech and just say, I thank Jaime, I thank Bettina, my mother Bernadette. She's the legal secretary, so I learned how to write from that lady over there. Yeah, she worked at Freed Frank Harris Shriver Jacobson. So we grew up in legal offices, and that's how I learned how to write. But what else should I say? Just gratitude, Jaime, Monique, Bettina, Gary. Oh, you'll talk about Gary later. Mm-hmm. Sting, Anissa, Stylist, Sean Bellyman, Stephanie, who works with Bettina. Cooley Ranks, I don't know if Cooley's here. Cooley also played a big part, James Bond, many more, stood with us in this community advocacy. So FEHR Foundation, write to FEHR Foundation for any help, fehrfoundation.com. Connect with your lawmakers through us if you need to. You have a voice, and I just ask you to use that voice as much as you can. Write in, okay? And that's it. And thank you. Thank you.
All right, now, next person I'm going to call, the person that I'm going to award right here is a person that been fighting. A lot of you may know her when Kim Kardashian was advocating for her, Alice Marie Johnson. And when I seen her on the TV when she was walking out, one day I was talking to her and she asked me, she said, "Jaime, when you saw me walking out the gates in my institution, did you ever think that your freedom would have been connected to mine?" I said, "No." She said, "Look how God works in mysterious ways." And today I took a page out of her book, Alice Marie Johnson, because she could have just went home and gone about her merry way, but she didn't. She turned back, and we call it the Harriet Tubman of prison reform. and she started bringing more individuals out of captivity. And for that, Alice Marie Johnson, the Harriet Tubman of Prison Reform Award, freed and then fearless, Alice Marie Johnson turned her second chance into a mission to free others. Walking back through the same gates she once walked out of, she became a living symbol of hope for thousands who remain behind bars. She taught the nation that clemency is not charity, it is justice delayed. Johnson embodies the modern day Harriet Tubman, returning to the prisons, not to visit, but to liberate. Her story is a reminder that redemption is not just personal, it is generational. And Ms. Shine, I would like for you to come up and accept Alice Marie Johnson's award.
Thank you, Jaime, and yes, she sure was a part of this. I spoke to her and she said, yes, Jaime Davidson is on the list. And that list went to the criminal justice part in the White House, and that's what helped push your clemency petition to be granted and signed by Trump in his first term.
That's right. Amen.
So, yes, amen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I will make
Thank
sure
you.
that she gets this.
All right, no problem. Another round of applause for Alice Marie Johnson and Bettina Shine and legal team. Now, I have one individual that I'm going to call up, Shannon Battle. In my 29 years incarcerated, this individual been with me in 3 institutions. And when he was, one day I told him, hey, let's go up to a unit. It's a unit for individuals that got life sentences. I had 3 life sentences plus 85 years. He had 2 life sentences. And the guys up there, they scared of the guys with life sentences. So he went up and they started talking all crazy. So he got mad and left. I went back to the kitchen and said, hey, listen, you coming with me. We going back up there because that program is for individuals like us. I went and got him. Then inside that program, we started educating individuals, teaching programs and doing everything. And when he came out, everything that Mr. Batter learned in there, he became a rising star in Washington, D.C., advocating for prison reform. So I asked him to come and say something at this event because, you know, he represents Washington, D.C., and a lot of the individuals that are still fighting to be free.
Good evening, everyone. Reggaetón Man. This is one of my partners, one of my friends, a mentor. My name is Shannon Battle, and I am here to celebrate the launching of my brother, my friend, my mentor, Jaime Davidson's FEHR Foundation. Me and Jaime met over 15 years ago, as he just spoke. Through a mutual acquaintance in BOP. We both had life sentences, and we both was on a mission to not let our circumstances dictate how we see life, and the rest is history. Jaime always was a force for good and a restorer of hope in an environment where hopelessness permeated the fabric of the walls that surrounded him, that was intentionally built to cause despair. Jaime has always been a fearless fighter for justice and selfless in his actions to create change for the better, which I witnessed firsthand as we created several programs, most notably Prisoners Against Gun Violence, an initiative to create peace and show that collectively we can come together as men against the senseless violence that impacted our community. Jaime, I will conclude by knowing with absolute certainty that you will approach this next chapter in your life with the same commitment and dedication that will ensure the world will be in a better place today than it was yesterday. Congratulations.
No, he wasn't speaking. All right. Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, everyone.
Now, I'm going to go into the long-awaited part. This part is prison reform. This individual that I'm going about to talk about, I met him in 2020 from Hawaii. Please listen to this story, but it's not going to be long. There's a moment in every man's life when God gives him a mirror, not to show him who he was, but to remind him who he still can be. Today, we honor a man who looked into that mirror and chose redemption over regret. A man who, even behind walls, became a builder of hope, mentoring, teaching, saving lives, and proving that purpose never expires. Ethan Malu Mota's name stands as a rare testament to courage, not once, not twice, but ladies and gentlemen, but 3 times. The first act of valor took place inside Hawaii's federal prison when chaos erupted in a riot and a pregnant correctional officer was taken hostage, surrounded by violence. Ethan placed his own life on the line. He risked everything to shield that pregnant officer from harm and guide her out of captivity to safety. At that moment, when vengeance filled the air, a prisoner saving a life became a defining act of humanity behind the wall. His second act of courage reached beyond that prison gates. After a police shooting inflamed the streets of Hawaii, tension turned to fury, and a gang prepared to ambush officers in retaliation, a plot that could have ended in a mass bloodshed. Once again, Ethan intervened. He spoke into the chaos, convincing men who were ready to destroy to stand down. His voice saved not only police officers' lives, but an entire community killed. And his third act of courage came from behind those same walls when Ethan learned that certain individuals planned to carry out a deadly suicide mission on the Hawaiian Police Department. He picked up the phone from prison. He called his friends and told them to post up at the airport and stop it, to save lives before it was too late. And because of his call, those officers lived. That intervention has been officially documented by the Hawaiian Police Department as one of the most selfless acts ever carried out from inside a federal penitentiary. But Ethan's story didn't begin in a cell. It began on the stage, long before the world knew him for his courage. Hawaii knew him as one of its most visionary concert promoters of the early 1990s. Ethan Malu Mota was the man bringing the biggest names in reggae and dancehall to the islands. Shabba Ranks, Maxi Priest, Shaggy and Raven. Shows where the crowds went wild, packed from wall to wall, the rhythm of unity moving through Hawaii. That's why it's prison reform meets arts and entertainment. So to everyone here, especially to my brothers, Raven and Shaggy, remember those nights in Hawaii when the stage shook and the people roared. This was the man behind it. This was the spirit who gave those memories life. And now look who we are honoring tonight. The same man whose love for music once united thousands and whose acts of valor later saved lives and restored faith in humanity. For years behind those walls, Ethan turned cells into classrooms, transforming survival into education, discipline, and hope. He mentored men who might have walked deeper into violence. Instead, they walked into his circle of guidance. He taught them that courage isn't a single act. It's a lifetime of standing in the gap for others, for an officer, a community, or a generation in need of direction. When I read his words, they stopped me cold. He said, my biggest regret wasn't missing freedom. It was missing the chance to take my girls, Kiki and Marsh, to their hula classes and school functions. They're right there, straight from Hawaii. And not, thank you, ladies, and a round of applause. And not being there for my son, Aston, the most talented, the fastest, the smartest. Had I been there, he could have been the most incredible athlete ever. He said Aston was gifted beyond his years, the kind of young man every father dreams of having. And then he said something that hit me even deeper. He said, my son could have been the next Tiger Woods, the next Kobe Bryant, and the next Usain Bolt. That's how gifted he was. And had I been there with him, with Aston, teaching him everything I know, he would have been something special. That's not just a father's reflection. That's heartbreak turned into hope. That's a man whose greatest pain became his motivation to save lives, to mentor others, and to prove that redemption is more powerful than regret. That's a father talking. That's a man who sees beyond the sentence, who carries his legacy through his children. Today, that legacy stands free on this stage, through his family, through his faith, and through every person he has inspired from behind those walls to out here in the free world. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise when we honor Ethan Malumota, a father, a leader, a visionary, and a living testament that God's plan never runs out of chapters. And now please help me welcome his beautiful children, Kiki, Marsh, and Aston, who have traveled all the way from Hawaii.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Panama. Just to make me clear, I'm no Tiger Woods. So, yeah. But yeah, thank you again, Panama. We're grateful to be here from Hawaii, and we're so thankful for all the support that we feel when we come here. On behalf of my father, Ethan Ke'i Ho'omalumota, and our entire Ohana that's here today, we accept this incredible honor. I was 4 years old when my dad was sentenced, and my sister was 3 and my other sister 1. That could have really defined our lives, but we chose a different path, one of strength, always striving to make him proud. For 20 years, we've tried to honor him, not realizing that our strength was also inspiring him to change. And as proud as he always was of us, we're especially proud of him for the man he's become. This award recognizes a man who, despite his circumstances, chose to look outward, to protect, to mediate, and to lift others up. His valor in saving others' lives and his dedication to forging peace are a testament of his character. But perhaps his most profound work is the quiet daily mentorship he provides. He believes in redemption, and he works every day to help others see that in themselves. This award isn't about celebrating his past actions, but it's about affirming that every person possesses the capacity to do good. It gives our family immense hope. And to President Trump and Alice Marie Johnson, we just humbly ask for your consideration for his clemency, so that he can continue his mentorship and leadership in the islands of Hawaii, surrounded by his family and friends and the people that support him and love him. Thank you to Panama and FEHR Foundation for all that you guys do and the support that you guys give us and giving us this recognition today. My father feels this deeply, and we hope more than anything for his freedom. So thank you all again.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Now, the next person I'm going to talk about is one of the artists from Flatbush that everybody knows, Culture Poppy. Gary Anthony Stewart. Please, a round of applause. Gary Anthony Stewart is Culture Poppy, one of my teachers. They call him in the system Positive Poppy. Second Chance Through Arts and Service Award. Gary Stewart, known affectionately as Positive Poppy, is a living demonstration of how art and service can heal broken spaces. His voice and vision raise funds for veterans, over $20,000, that's not easy. Fed both bodies and spirits and built bridges behind communities, from grassroots outreach to performances on some of the world's most respected stages, including Carnegie Hall. His work blended advocacy with artistry. Where others saw prison as an ending, Poppy saw it as a platform. He used his gifts to support rehabilitation programs, to inspire men and women searching for new purpose, and to show that second chances are not just possible, but powerful. His journey proves that the arts are not decoration of life's struggle. They are a weapon of hope and a tool of service. Positive Poppy stands as a proof that one voice used with integrity can echo into countless lives. Poppy, even from behind the walls, they took him and he performed numerous times in the place that you call Carnegie Hall. The next person is Carlos Ivanguera Plaza from Puerto Rico, Excellence in Mentorship and Rehabilitation Award. Carlos Ivanguera Plaza is a teacher in the truest sense of the word. Inside the prison walls where hope often dies, he created spaces of light. Through mentorship and rehabilitation, he became a guide for men searching for transformation. His example is proof that education is not bound by institutions. It is carried in the heart of those who refuse to let darkness swallow them. His work ensures that when men leave prison, they leave with knowledge, discipline, and dignity. Carlos Ivanguera Plaza, his father got sick, was coming from Puerto Rico, but we are going to hold this award, and I thank you. Can give him a round of applause, please. Carlos Ivanguera Plaza. And the last one before we start, the Reggaeton pioneers and sound system builders, Miguel Figueroa, Courage and Perseverance of Justice Award. Miguel Figueroa faced injustice head on. Unbroken, he chose perseverance instead of despair. He fought with dignity, raising his voice not only for himself, but for the voiceless who had no platform. His courage is measured not only in what he survived, but in how he transformed suffering into testimony. His story is a reminder that perseverance is itself a victory, and that justice, no matter how long delayed, cannot erase the courage of the human spirit. Is Judy Miralles here, his mother? Okay, let's give him a round of applause. Anyway, she wasn't able to make it. Now for the closing, this is the closing cry for FEHR Foundation, Prison Reform Meets Arts and Entertainment and Reggaeton Award Ceremony. This day, October 11, 2025, will be remembered not just as an award ceremony, but as a declaration of truth and history. The FEHR Foundation's Prison Reform Meets Arts and Entertainment and Reggaeton Award Ceremony, which stands as a monument to the men and women who risk everything for justice, to the builders of a culture who laid the bricks of the reggaeton movement, and to the communities who carried the flame when the world wasn't ready to recognize us. From prison reform warriors like Alice Marie Johnson, Ethan Malu Mota, Gary Anthony Stewart, Carlos Ivanguera Plaza, and Miguel Figueroa, to the cultural pioneers like Cutty Ranks, Sting International, Screechy Dan, and Red Fox, Raven, Mr. Easy, Naturally, to the sound system builders and Baby Quake family who kept the streets alive with music and message. Today, we write their names in history with the respect that always deserved. Many more names will follow in the Gringo Man Enterprise history book, soon to be published. We declare here today in Brooklyn, New York, that Panamanians, united along with Jamaicans, West Indians, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Colombians, Latinos, and African Americans, etc., built the sound now called here today reggaeton. That this culture was not born in boardrooms, but in basements, ballrooms, block parties, and prison yards. That the billions of dollars injected in the United States and global economy generated by this music industry trace back to Flatbush and East Flatbush, the mecca of reggaeton, with all the legends that you see right here today. The producers, artists, Panamanians, Jamaicans, Barbados, all nationalities. And so today, we call upon the New York City mayoral candidates, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and Assemblyman Zora Mamdani, and council members Rita Joseph from District 40 and Crystal Hudson from District 35 to take the step that history demands to co-name 3 streets in Brooklyn: Gringo Man Way, Sting International Way, and Screechy Dan Way, and Screechy Dan and Red Fox Way. Because this is the FEHR Foundation Declaration. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart that today, October 11, we just made history. We just made history. Round of applause for all of you Miss Alice Marie Johnson, President Trump. This is Jaime Alexander Davidson, the individual that Alice Marie Johnson, you advocated for me. I want to thank you. All of us in this room want to thank you. That God used you as an instrument to create this big miracle with Bettina Shine and taking it to President Trump. Mr. President, I want to thank you personally right here. I'm not into politics, but one thing you said, and I've always paid close attention, you said, if you have somebody in prison, talk to me. If you have somebody in prison, talk to me. Mr. President, when you didn't know that the person that you only knew he was the founder of the reggaeton movement, but I didn't think you don't think you know that with all these artists, we founded a movement that injected billions of dollars into the US economy and global economy. Yes, right here in East Flatbush and Flatbush, Brooklyn, New York. All these artists that perform today. And I ask of you, there's 4 petitions of clemency before you. I need for you to please look them over carefully and know Jaime Davidson is asking you, how you said, talk to me. Because Ethan Malumota risked his life, Mr. President, and clemency petition is used for that, for individuals that risk their lives to save others. He did it not once, not twice, but 3 times. He saved a female correctional officer, pregnant. He put his life on the line, and nothing was said about that. There was going to be an ambush on a police station, Mr. President. Ethan Malumota went out its way and stopped it. It's recorded by the Hawaiian police. Again, he was sought after this time by the same police departments now. Please, can you stop this? There's going to be a suicide. We don't know how, where it's coming. He got on the phone. He got his own people to stand by the airport the day these individuals was coming to do a suicide, Mr. President, and he stopped it. This is documented history in Hawaii. Hawaii needs Mr. Ethan Malumota. You have Gary Anthony Stewart, Culture Papi. He raised over $20,000 for veterans. Cooks, he does everything. They call him Positive Papi. Ivan Yeramota, Miguel Figueroa. Please, Mr. President, on behalf of Jaime Davidson, the one that God used you as an instrument to do that big miracle. I'm coming from the bottom of the heart to ask you if you could please consider and grant their clemency petitions when it's put before your hands by Alice Marie Johnson. Thank you, Mr. President. And thank everybody that's here, because we can say, I thank you for your patience, because a lot of times people don't want to hear about prison, but you have got to realize you got family members, friends, associates, different people inside there. And these individuals would love for somebody to do that for them. You see, and I thank everybody in attendance, because you didn't have to come. It was raining, it was all of this. But you came and you supported us. This right here, all the artists, producers, promoters that was right here and still right here, we thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, Mr. President, and everybody right here for coming out. And I want everybody to say, aye! Aye! Thank you.